Here's the scene. Saturday evening. You're standing in your own living room, the one you rebuilt with your hands. 5 months of sawdust in your hair, tile dust under your nails. Weekends spent crawling under the house to rewire what the tornado ripped apart. Every board, every tile, every light switch. You did that. Now there's 40 people in that living room, holding glasses of wine, admiring the crown molding you cut yourself. Your wife raises her glass. The room goes quiet. She smiles, that bright, camera-ready smile, and says, "To the house." And to the man who'd rather lay tile than have a conversation with his wife. Laughter. Some nervous, some not. Your buddy catches your eye from across the room. He's not laughing. Your wife takes a sip, turns to a man in a navy blazer, her biggest staging client, and says, loud enough for the kitchen to hear, 5 months wait. 5 months I lived in a construction zone so my handyman husband could have his project. That was my living room. My wife. My housewarming party in Montgomery, Alabama. My name is Kirby Kemp. I'm 42. I own a contracting company. I build things, houses, decks, additions, renovations. I'm good at it. Been good at it for 20 years. Bernadette and I have been married for 11 of those years, and for most of them, she never seemed to mind the sawdust. The tornado hit our neighborhood the previous April, tore the roof clean off, cracked the foundation, flooded the basement. Insurance covered some. I covered the rest. Spent 5 months rebuilding our home from the studs out because that's what I do. Something breaks, I fix it. Bernadette does real estate staging. Good at it, too. But sometime in those 5 months, while I was rebuilding our house, she started working with Wade Beckett, high-end developer, corner office, drive something German. His projects are luxury condos and waterfront properties. The kind of staging where you pick fabrics that cost more than my truck payment. And somewhere in there, my wife started looking at me like I was one of the before photos in her portfolio. I remember the night I finished the kitchen backsplash, 3 a.m., grout still wet on my fingers. She walked downstairs in her robe, stood in the doorway, and said, "It's beautiful." That was 4 months ago. She meant it. I could hear it. That was the last time she looked at something I built and saw the man who built it. The night of the housewarming, after everyone leaves, I'm washing glasses at the sink. Bernadette comes up behind me, puts her hand on my back. "Hey," she says. Soft. Almost tender. I didn't mean it like that. The toast. I was just being funny. I want to believe her. The hand on my back feels real. Her voice is the voice I'm married. Warm, close. The voice that used to call me from the other room just to show me something on her phone. "It's fine," I say. "You sure? Go to bed, Bern. I'll finish up." She kisses my shoulder. Goes upstairs. And here's the thing about that night. I almost let it go. People say dumb things at parties. Alcohol, nerves, whatever. I almost convinced myself it was nothing. But I keep hearing it. Handyman husband. The way Wade Beckett smiled when she said it. The way she turned to him first, not to me. Sunday morning, she's already dressed. Hair done. Lipstick. "Where are you going?" "Wade has a showing at noon. I need to check the staging." "On a Sunday?" She gives me this look, patient, faintly annoyed, like I've asked why the sky is blue. "It's a $3 million listing, Kirby. Some of us work weekends too." Like I hadn't spent every weekend for 5 months under our house. I let it go. Went to the workshop. Sanded a walnut board I'd been shaping into a shelf bracket. Sanded it for about an hour. Hands still. Just staring at the grain. Monday evening, Warren calls. Warren Kincaid has been my closest friend since high school. He doesn't call to chat. If Warren picks up the phone, something's wrong. "I saw Bernadette yesterday," he says. "At Riverview Terrace. The new luxury condos on the east side. She had a staging there. Kirby. It was 7 p.m. She was on the balcony with Wade Beckett. They weren't looking at furniture." My throat tightens. "What does that mean, Warren?" "It means I'm telling you because you'd do the same for me. I don't know what I saw, but it wasn't staging." I hang up. Sit at my desk. My hands are doing something without my permission. They're typing. I log into our Vanguard account. We've had it for years. Joint investment. Nothing fancy. The page loads, and there's a notification I've never seen before. Unauthorized transfer requests. 3 of them. Pending. Someone has been trying to move money out of our joint account. Not a lot. The amounts are spaced to stay under the alert threshold. Like someone who knows what they're doing. I stare at the screen. My chest feels like someone's standing on it. Here's where I need you to understand something about me. I'm a builder. When a wall cracks, I don't punch it. I figure out which beam shifted. When a foundation settles, I don't panic. I jack it up and pour new footings. I don't break down. I work. That's how I'm wired. So I don't call Bernadette. I don't confront her. I pick up the phone and call Warren back. I need a name. A good attorney. Nola Enright. He says, like he's been waiting for me to ask. Family law? Sharp. Set it up. That night, I sit in the kitchen. Lights off. The house is quiet. The house I rebuilt beam by beam. The house that still smells like fresh paint in the hallway. I built this place to last 50 years. And my wife is trying to dismantle it from the inside. I don't sleep. Not because I'm angry, because I'm recalculating. Like when a load-bearing wall isn't where the blueprints say it is. You don't panic. You measure again. Tuesday night. Bernadette comes home at 8, smelling like a perfume she didn't leave wearing. She drops her bag, kicks off her heels, walks straight to the couch. How was your day? I ask. Long. Wade's Midtown project is a nightmare. The contractors he hired couldn't level a floor if their lives depended on it. She looks up, smiles. Not like you. You actually know what you're doing. That compliment, 2 days after calling me her handyman husband in front of 40 people. That's not warmth. That's a thermostat adjustment. She turned it cold Saturday. Now she's turning it back to warm. Just enough to keep me reaching. But I don't know that yet. Not on Tuesday. On Tuesday, I almost believe her. Wednesday morning, she doesn't eat breakfast with me. Says she already ate at Wade's office. They had catering for an early meeting. First time in 11 years, she skipped our morning coffee. I pour 2 cups anyway. Mine's empty by the time I notice hers is still sitting there, steam gone, getting cold. I take her cup and pour it down the drain. Wednesday night, I'm in the garage. Door cracked open. I hear her in the kitchen. She's on speaker, talking to a friend. Kirby thinks building a porch makes him a provider. Wade doesn't come home with dust on his hands. I stand there, grease rag in my fist. The overhead light buzzing. She laughs. Light, easy, like she's talking about a neighbor's dog. I'm not saying I don't love him. I'm saying I look at where Wade lives, how Wade lives, and I think, is this really what I signed up for? Pause. I just think I settled. That's all. I think I settled. The garage door is 3 feet from the kitchen window. She doesn't know I'm here. And now I know something she doesn't know I know. Thursday. Nola Enright's office. Small, reading glasses, a desk covered in sticky notes. Not what I expected. But when I lay it out, the toast, the Vanguard transfers, what Warren saw, what I heard on speaker, she leans back in her chair and says one word. Timeline. Excuse me. These transfers. When did they start? I pull up the account on my phone. The first request was 4 months ago, right after I finished the major structural work on the house. Nola writes something on a legal pad. Keep documenting. Don't confront her yet. And Kirby, check your mail. My mail. Just check it. I drive home. Bernadette is making dinner. She's humming. Humming. She turns when I walk in and says, I made your favorite. Pot roast. I stand in the doorway looking at this woman, my wife, who 3 hours ago was described by a lawyer as a pattern. She's wearing the apron I bought her for her birthday. She's smiling. Sit down, she says. Tell me about your day. I sit. I eat. I tell her about a job in Prattville. She listens. She laughs at the right parts. She clears the plates and squeezes my shoulder on the way to the sink. That night, she reaches for me in bed. Warm. Present. The woman I married. 6:30 the next morning, she walks past me in the kitchen like I'm a piece of furniture. Doesn't look up from her phone. Gets in her car. Gone. You know that feeling when you're standing in a room you built with your hands, and the person you built it for walks through it like it's a hotel lobby? That. 2 weeks of this. Warm nights, cold mornings. A pattern so precise I start writing it down, not because Nola told me to, but because I need to see it on paper to believe it's real. Tuesday warm. Wednesday morning, ice. Thursday evening, warm again. Friday. He closed a deal worth more than this house before lunch. Saturday, silence. Sunday. She reaches for my hand during a movie. I stop reaching back. Not as a strategy. I'm just running out of reach. Thanksgiving week. Bernadette insists we host my family. My parents, my sister, my niece. She cooks. Actually cooks, which she hasn't done in months. Turkey, stuffing, the whole spread. She's charming. She's warm. She puts her hand on my arm and says, Kirby worked so hard on this house. I'm so grateful. My mother smiles. My sister nods. Everyone at that table looks at the woman I married, kind, generous, glowing, and I'm looking at the woman who said she settled. Dessert. My sister mentions the Senate housing bill she read about, how construction costs might finally come down. Bernadette laughs. Maybe then Kirby can afford to take a vacation instead of spending every weekend in the garage. The table gets quiet. What, she says. I'm kidding. Maybe if you spent less time comparing me to your clients, you'd notice I built the table you're sitting at. She puts down the coffee pot. Eyes flat. Maybe if you spent less time in the garage and more time being a husband, I wouldn't have to. She wants the explosion. I can see it, the way she squares her shoulders, lifts her chin, her eyes flicking to my mother. She wants a scene. She wants witnesses. I put my napkin on the table. Stand up. Walk to the back porch. Sit on the top step. Cold air on my hands. November in Alabama. Not freezing, but enough to sting. Inside, I hear my mother's voice. Low. Then Bernadette's, higher, defensive. I was joking. He's so sensitive lately. My sister finds me 10 minutes later. Sits down next to me. Doesn't say a word for a while. How long has she been like this? She finally asks. I don't know. A while. Kirby, that wasn't a joke. I know. She puts her hand on my arm. You're my brother. You don't have to take that in your own house. It's handled. She looks at me. I can see her deciding whether to push. She doesn't. Just sits there with me until our breath makes little clouds and the porch light clicks off. The following week, Bernadette comes to me crying. 11 p.m. She sits on the edge of the bed and her voice breaks. Not the performative break, the real one. Or what sounds real. I'm scared, Kirby. I don't know what's happening to us. Wade makes me feel like I have to be someone I'm not. And when I come home, I take it out on you, and I know that's not fair. She reaches for my hand. I let her take it. I love you, she says. I know I'm terrible at showing it lately, but I do. And for about 30 seconds, I believe her. I believe the tears. I believe the trembling lip. I believe that Wade Beckett is the villain and my wife is just lost, confused, reaching for the man she actually loves. 30 seconds. Then she falls asleep, and I lie there in the dark, thinking about the Vanguard transfers that weren't made by accident. Black Friday. She's out shopping. I go to check the weather on her tablet, my phone's charging, and the browser opens to her last session. 6 tabs. Divorce attorneys in Montgomery. Asset Division Alabama law. House valuations in our zip code. How to establish separate property before filing. All bookmarked. All dated. The oldest bookmark is from March, 3 weeks before the tornado hit. She wasn't planning to leave because of the renovation. She was planning to leave before the storm. The storm just handed her a better house to take. I closed the browser. Set the tablet back exactly where it was. Walk to the workshop. Stand at the bench. Don't pick up a tool. Don't move. 5 minutes. 10. Just breathing. I call Nola. We need to meet. The next morning, Saturday, Bernadette comes downstairs. Stops in the kitchen doorway. She's looking at me differently. Not warm. Not cold. Curious. You've been quiet, she says. I'm always quiet. No. This is different. You're not. Reaching. I look up from my coffee. Reaching for what? She opens her mouth. Closes it. Turns and walks back upstairs. That's the first time I see it. The flicker. Not guilt. Not sadness. Something closer to confusion. She threw the ball, and I didn't chase it. The machine isn't getting the input it expects. By the next week, she starts testing. Leaves her phone on the counter, screen up, notification from Wade visible. I don't look. She mentions a late dinner and watches my face. I say have a good time. She wears a new dress, expensive, not her usual style, and stands in the kitchen waiting for me to notice. I notice. I don't say anything. Thursday night she snaps. Are you even here anymore? Are you in this marriage at all? I'm standing in the kitchen I rebuilt, Bernadette. I'm here. You're physically here. Mentally you checked out weeks ago. Maybe I'm just tired of performing for an audience of one. She goes quiet. Then, what does that mean? It means I'm not going to audition for a role I've already earned. She storms out. Slams the bedroom door. I hear her pacing for an hour. Then silence. 2 in the morning. I'm still at the kitchen table. Coffee's cold. The house I rebuilt creaks the way new houses do, settling into its bones. I know every sound this structure makes. I know which joist expands when the heat kicks on. I know this house better than I know the woman sleeping upstairs. 11 years. That's how long it takes to build a life and realize the other person was sketching the demolition plan. 2 weeks later, Bernadette invites Wade Beckett to the house. A weeknight dinner. To discuss a staging project, she says. Wade walks in, looks around at the crown molding, the hardwood I laid by hand, the custom shelving. Runs his finger along the mantelpiece. Nice craftsmanship, Kirby. Very. Rustic. Bernadette asks me to pour drinks. I pour drinks. Set them on the table I built. Sit down across from the man my wife has been spending her evenings with. Wade talks about his latest development, some waterfront project, mentions he closed a deal worth more than this house before lunch. Bernadette listens like she's at a seminar. Eyes bright. Nodding. Leaning in. He looks at me. Bernadette tells me you did all the tornado repairs yourself. I did. Impressive. I usually hire people for that sort of thing. I'm sure you do. Bernadette shoots me a look. I sip my drink. Say nothing else the rest of the evening. After Wade leaves, she turns on me. You were rude. I poured his drinks and answered his questions. You sat there like a stone. What did you want me to do, Bernadette? Applaud? She stops. You know what? Forget it. You'll never understand what it's like to want more. You said I'd rather lay tile than talk. You were right. Tile doesn't lie to your face. She stares at me. Doesn't have a comeback. For the first time in months, she walks out of the room without the last word. The next morning, I find a note on the kitchen counter. Her handwriting. I don't want to fight. I just want us to be okay. And I think, Bernadette, we were never going to be okay. You just needed me to believe we could be, long enough to finish what you started. That night she doesn't come home for dinner. Doesn't text. Walks in at 10 with takeout bags and says, already ate at Wade's showing. Left you some. I look at the bag. Thai food from a place we used to go together, back when together meant something. Thanks, I say. I leave the bag on the counter. Go to bed. December. Malcolm Pemberton works the counter at the Montgomery post office. We went to the same high school. Pulls me aside on my lunch break. Kirby, got a second? What's up, Malcolm? Your wife opened a P.O. box here. About 2 months ago. She's been redirecting some of your joint mail. What kind of mail? He looks uncomfortable. Financial stuff. I can't say more than that. But I thought you should know. Nola gets a court order. Inside the P.O. box, trust transfer documents. Prepared by Wade Beckett's real estate attorney. Bernadette has been trying to move the house into a trust, her trust, before the rebuild increased its value. The paperwork is designed to establish that the house was hers before the renovation happened. As if my 5 months of work never existed. But here's where the whole picture shifts. The trust documents were drafted in February, 2 full months before the tornado. Bernadette started this process before the storm destroyed our home. She didn't want the rebuilt house. She wanted the original. Then the tornado handed her something worth twice as much, and she adjusted the plan. Every provocation since, the toast, the comparisons, the Thanksgiving jab, having me serve drinks to Wade, none of it was frustration. It was a campaign. She wanted me to lose my temper, say something ugly in front of witnesses, throw something, raise my voice, storm out, and file first. Then she'd counterfile, play the victim, and take the house in the split. Every warm night followed by a cold morning. Every soft touch chased by a public humiliation. The warmth wasn't love coming back. It was a faucet she turned on and off to keep me reaching for the handle. 4 a.m. Basement couch. TV glowing with polar vortex coverage. Blizzard warnings scrolling across the bottom. Weather forecast from New York to Alabama. Centerpoint energy outage numbers climbing. I'm not watching any of it. I'm staring through the screen. I think about every good night in the last 6 months. Every time she came to bed warm, touched my back, said something soft. And every single morning after, ice. Distance. A comment designed to cut. Too consistent to be mood. Too precise to be accident. I build things for a living. I know when something is engineered. The week before Christmas, Bernadette tells me she's hosting a dinner party. Just friends. A few couples. Nothing fancy. She's been warm all week, cooking, asking about my projects, sitting next to me on the couch. The full performance. I call Warren. Saturday night. Be at my house by 7:30. And bring Nola. Saturday. For couples in our dining room. The table I built. The chairs I refinished. The chandelier I rewired after the storm. Bernadette is radiant. Charming. Touching my hand across the table. Then, between the main course and dessert, she turns to the group. You know what Kirby did on Black Friday? while everyone else was out shopping. She performs the pause. He was in the garage. All day. While I was here. Alone. On a holiday. She looks around the table. Witnesses lined up. Tell them, Kirby. Tell everyone how you spent Black Friday. The table is quiet. All eyes on me. This is it. The moment she's been building toward for months. One explosion. One raised voice. One ugly sentence in front of 8 witnesses, and she has everything she needs. The front door opens. Warren Kincaid walks in. Behind him, a woman with reading glasses and a manila folder. Nola Enright. Bernadette's smile doesn't drop, it freezes. Sorry we're late, Warren says. He doesn't look sorry. Nola pulls out a chair. Sits at the table like she was always invited. Sets the folder between the breadbasket and the wine. Bernadette, she says. Just the name. No hello. Who is this? Bernadette looks at me. Her voice is steady but her hands aren't. Nola opens the folder. Spreads 3 documents across the tablecloth. P.O. Box rental agreement. Trust transfer paperwork dated February, 2 months before the tornado. Vanguard transfer requests flagged by the account manager. These are yours, Nola says. Factual. Like reading a blueprint. Bernadette stares at the papers. The color leaves her face. She looks up at me, searching for the explosion. The anger. The scene she can use. I pick up my glass. Take a sip. I didn't bring a lawyer to dinner. My friend did. Silence. The kind you feel in your ribs. One of the guests stands. We should go. Chairs scrape. Coats come off hooks. In 2 minutes, it's just me, Bernadette, Warren, and Nola. Bernadette sits there, hands flat on the table like she's trying to keep it from tilting. No tears. No rage. Just still. Small and frightened, and, for the first time since I've known her, out of moves. You planned this, she says. No. You planned this. I just paid attention. She cycles fast. Anger first. This is an ambush. You ambushed me in my own home. My home, Nola corrects. Legally speaking. Then bargaining. Kirby, we can talk about this. Just the 2 of us. Send her away, and we'll figure it out. The way we figured out the Vanguard transfers? Or the way we figured out the P.O. box? Her face crumbles. Real tears now, or real enough. I was scared, Kirby. I didn't know what I was doing. Wade pushed me into it. He said I deserved more, that you were holding me back. Wade didn't forge your signature on trust documents, Bernadette. Silence. The house, she says quietly. I need the house. Nola closes the folder. The house is titled to Kemp Construction, LLC. Has been since before the tornado. All renovation costs, materials, labor, documented as company investment in a company asset. Bernadette turns to me. You knew? I'm a contractor, Bernadette. It's been in the company name for tax purposes since we bought it. You signed the documents. That's not, you can't, I build things. I don't beg people to live in them. She looks at the trust documents on the table. The ones she spent 6 months engineering. She tried to crack a foundation that was never hers to crack. Quiet for a long time. Then, almost to herself. I thought if I pushed hard enough, you'd break. I don't break things, Bern. That's your job. Nola filed the paperwork that Monday. Clean and quick. Bernadette moved out before New Year's. She didn't contest. There was nothing left to contest. January. Workshop. 6 a.m. Cold enough to see my breath. I'm cutting boards for a deck job in Cloverdale. The saw whines. Sawdust settles on my boots. Radio's on in the corner, something about oil prices and the snow that won't stop falling. Warren stops by with coffee. Sets it on the bench. Stands there for a while. You doing okay? I'm building a deck. He nods. Yeah, you are. She spent 6 months trying to steal something that was never hers to take. Turns out the man who'd rather lay tile than talk. He was listening the whole time. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.